a landlocked state that controls an entire ocean's worth of trade, a place where three climates collide to decide presidential elections, the geographic accident that became America's hidden superpower. So get ready, because we're about to hit you with 30 wild facts about Ohio. Fact 30. Ohio shares a border with a foreign country, underwater. The Lake Erie boundary with Canada runs through invisible coordinates beneath the waves, creating a maritime border most people forget exists. This liquid border gives Ohio international jurisdiction over shipping lanes. It's technically a coastal state without a single ocean wave. Fact 29. There's a spot in Ohio where you can stand in 3 different watersheds at once. The Triple Divide near Wilshire sends water to the Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic Ocean, and Great Lakes simultaneously. One raindrop can end up in 3 different bodies of water depending on which direction it rolls. Geography doesn't get more mind-bending than this. Fact 28. Ohio's northern border was drawn to steal a war advantage. The Toledo Strip War of 1835 wasn't about land, it was about controlling the only deep water port on the Great Lakes' western edge. Michigan wanted it. Ohio took it. That 468 square mile strip changed the entire industrial future of North America. Fact 27. The state sits on a collision zone of 3 major climate systems: Arctic air from Canada, Gulf moisture from the south, and dry continental air from the west all crash into Ohio like meteorological bumper cars. This creates weather so unpredictable that locals experience all 4 seasons in a single week. It's why Ohio's agriculture is uniquely adaptable, and why tornadoes love it here. Fact 26. There's a massive underground ocean beneath Ohio that nobody talks about. The Cincinnati Aquifer System holds trillions of gallons of ancient glacial water trapped in limestone caverns. It's been sitting there for 10,000 years since the ice sheets melted. This hidden reservoir could supply water for centuries if we ever figure out how to tap it sustainably. Fact 25. Ohio's rivers flow in every possible direction, like a natural compass. The Cuyahoga flows north to Lake Erie. The Scioto flows south to the Ohio River. Tributaries flow east and west. This makes Ohio a 4-directional water highway connecting half of America. Early settlers called it the gateway that opens in all directions. Fact 24. The state has more restored wetlands than original wetlands left. Over 90% of Ohio's natural swamps were drained for farmland by 1900, erasing entire ecosystems. Now, engineers are building artificial wetlands to replace what was destroyed. We're literally reverse engineering nature to fix a century-old geographic mistake. Fact 23. There's a geological scar across Ohio from an ancient asteroid impact. The Serpent Mound structure sits on a 300-million-year-old impact crater that's 5 miles wide. Indigenous peoples built their most sacred earthwork directly on this cosmic wound in the earth. They knew this spot was different. Modern geology proved them right. Fact 22. Ohio controls more freshwater coastline than most actual coastal states. Its 312 miles of Lake Erie shoreline gives it access to 20% of the world's fresh surface water. That's more drinking water than entire countries have access to. Forget oil. Ohio sits on liquid gold. Fact 21. The state's elevation changes are so subtle that water doesn't know which way to flow. The Portage Lakes area is so flat that early surveyors couldn't determine which direction rivers should run. Native Americans literally had to portage their canoes across this zero-gradient zone. It's a geographic dead zone where gravity barely exists. Fact 20. Ohio's soil is made from ground-up Canadian mountains. Glaciers scraped bedrock from Ontario for thousands of years and dumped it across Ohio as fine sediment. That's why Ohio farmland is so insanely fertile. It's pulverized ancient rock. Every cornfield is literally growing on recycled mountains. Fact 19. There's a precise spot in Cincinnati where you can see Kentucky
and Indiana from Ohio at the same time. This happens at a rare geographic triple junction where the Ohio River curves just right to bring 3 states into a single line of sight. Stand in the correct position and you're simultaneously looking into 3 separate legal jurisdictions, each with different laws, courts, and enforcement. One river creates the border, but it also creates endless legal and political complications. Fact 18. Northern Ohio was once dominated by the Great Black Swamp, this massive, disease-ridden wetland that made settlement nearly impossible. This 1,500-square-mile mosquito-infested landscape stopped westward expansion cold for decades. It took nearly a century of drainage canals, ditches, and engineering projects to make Toledo and Northwest Ohio livable. Modern cities there exist only because an entire natural ecosystem was deliberately erased. Fact 17. Beneath Ohio lies a geological archive of 4 ancient oceans that once covered the region. Layers of limestone, shale, and sandstone stack vertically, recording 400 million years of changing seas. That's why seashell fossils can be found on hilltops hundreds of feet above sea level. Ohio isn't just land, it's a vertical museum of drowned worlds. Fact 16. Despite its name, the Ohio River does not legally belong to Ohio. The state's southern boundary follows an 18th century low water mark on the river's northern edge. That legal quirk means the river itself belongs to Kentucky and West Virginia, not Ohio. Ohio touches the water, but owns none of it. Fact 15. There's a microclimate in Ohio where snow rarely falls despite being surrounded by lake effect zones. The Columbus area sits in a snow shadow created by the Appalachian foothills blocking Lake Erie moisture. Cities 50 miles north get buried while Columbus stays clear. Geography created a natural snow shield. Fact 14. Ohio has more underground caves than any official map can keep track of. Its karst limestone terrain creates sinkholes and caverns that can form or collapse without warning. New cave systems are discovered regularly, some large enough to swallow structures. In parts of Ohio, the ground below is far less solid than it looks. Fact 13. Ohio sits on a tectonic fault zone capable of producing a serious earthquake. The Anna-Champaign Fault cuts across western Ohio and could generate a 6.0 or stronger quake. It hasn't moved in 2 centuries, but geologically speaking, that's a blink. While everyone watches California, Ohio sits on a quiet but real seismic risk. Fact 12. Lake Erie's western basin is shallower than most swimming pools. The average depth near Toledo is only 24 feet, meaning you could stand on the bottom with your head above water. This makes it the most volatile of all Great Lakes, freezing solid in winter and brewing massive algae blooms in summer. It's less Great Lake and more really big puddle. Fact 11. Ohio's shape was determined by mathematical miscalculation. Surveyors in 1785 thought they were drawing straight lines, but didn't account for Earth's curvature. The straight borders are actually curves that created thousands of disputed acres. The entire state is basically a giant surveying error. Fact 10. Northwest Ohio contains a magnetic anomaly that interferes with compasses. Iron-rich bedrock near Findlay distorts local magnetic fields. Early explorers reported spinning needles and navigation errors in the area. Modern instruments still confirm something unusual beneath the surface. Fact 9. The glaciers that shaped Ohio stopped at an almost perfect line. North of it lies flat, fertile farmland. South of it, rugged hills and narrow valleys. That boundary dictated where farming thrived, where industry grew, and where poverty lingered. One line drawn by ice created 2 very different Ohio's. Fact 8. Ohio has coastline on a lake that's younger than human civilization. Lake Erie formed just 10,000 years ago when melting glaciers broke natural ice dams. Early humans actually witnessed this lake filling for the first time. It's the youngest Great Lake and easily the most unpredictable.
Fact 7. The state's population center has barely moved in, emphasis, 100 years. While America's population center shifted westward dramatically, Ohio's stayed locked in place. This geographic stability makes it the perfect presidential election bellwether. When Ohio's center doesn't move, it means the state perfectly mirrors national demographics. Fact 6. There's a 400-mile underground pipeline of brine beneath Ohio that nobody approved. Natural saltwater aquifers connect through porous bedrock, creating an accidental subterranean river. Oil companies discovered it when injection wells started communicating with each other. Nature built its own pipeline system before humans even tried. Fact 5. Ohio's western border follows a line that doesn't actually exist anymore. The Great Miami River shifted course multiple times since the border was drawn in 1803. The legal boundary follows where the river used to be, not where it is now. There are islands of Indiana inside Ohio and vice versa. Nobody knows who owns them. Fact 4. The state sits at the exact center of the manufacturing belt's geographic gravity. Within 500 miles of Ohio lies 60% of North American industrial capacity. This invisible radius made Ohio the logistics hub for half the continent. Being in the middle of everything turned out to be the ultimate geographic superpower. Fact 3. An invisible continental divide underground. Ohio's groundwater does something extraordinary. Depending on which side of an invisible ridge you stand on, water beneath your feet will flow to completely different oceans. The subcontinental divide runs directly through the state. On one side, groundwater drains toward the Gulf of Mexico. On the other, it flows to the Atlantic Ocean via the Great Lakes. You can drill 2 wells just 100 feet apart and tap into entirely separate hydrological systems. Surface maps don't show these borders, but underground, they are absolute. Fact 2. A lake that can poison a city. Lake Erie's algae blooms are so massive they are visible from space. Agricultural runoff feeds toxic cyanobacteria that flourish in the lake's shallow, warm western basin. In 2014, this geography triggered a crisis. Toledo's water supply became contaminated, leaving 500,000 residents without safe drinking water for 3 days. This was not merely pollution, it was geography amplifying pollution. A shallow lake heats faster, stagnates longer, and reacts more violently than deeper systems. Lake Erie doesn't just reflect human activity, it magnifies it. Fact 1. The most important water shortcut in North America. Ohio controls the only navigable water route linking the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River system. This 38-mile corridor through the Maumee River and Lake Erie once determined the economic fate of an entire continent. Before railroads, this connection dictated whether Eastern goods reached Western markets or never arrived at all. Whoever controlled this passage controlled trade, migration, and power. Ohio's geography quietly decided winners long before politics did. One state, one river, and for a time, the entire economic geography of North America hinged on it. A state carved by ice, bordered by mistakes, sitting on drowned mountains and hidden oceans, Ohio is not just geographically important, it is geographically inevitable.